Welcome back to the Routine Advantage podcast. This is exciting because we have a listener question that I want to tackle on the episode today. And hopefully, this will help a lot of us because I feel like this is something that is very common with so many of us. So I'm hoping that it will be relatable to you. Not that I want you to be struggling with this, but I think you can take some nuggets and some wisdom from this to be able to use in your own life. So our question came in from Isabella, and she said, "Okay, so I've organized my apps in a certain order so that I won't get distracted and rack up my screen time. But it doesn't seem to work because I'm still on my phone a lot. What do I do now?" And this is what I want to go over because this is a great question. And Isabella, thank you very much for sending this in because we're going to go over a few things that have helped me. This is definitely something that I have struggled with as well. And I think a lot of us have because we are in a world that is so surrounded by technology and different apps and programs that are literally created to distract us and pull us in, and we get sucked in. So it's really hard, but I have found some things that are really helpful for me, and I want to share those with you today, and hopefully they will help you as well. Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renae Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage podcast. I thought this was a really great question to tackle because this is so relevant to just today's world. And I want to preface this by saying that I am not perfect at this by any means. I still struggle with it. And that is something that is a constant where I'm always trying to improve the amount of screen time that I have. And it's really hard because there are a lot of things in this life that are really great on our phones. I mean, you can listen to audiobooks, you can listen to podcasts, you can find recipes and connect with family and loved ones and all sorts of really amazing things. You can be tracking your budget, you can, explore, you can learn things. All these different things can be accessible on screens or on your phones. But because everything is also like made to distract you, we can end up spending hours on our phone each day. And not only does that take time away from our families and our just peace of mind, it makes us feel more busy. The blue light, it actually does something in your brain. Like there's effects from having that blue light all the time, the radiation from your phones. Just overall, as great as technology is, it can also affect us really negatively. And we can start to feel more overwhelmed. We can start to feel more anxious. We can start comparing our lives to the people that we see on the internet and start feeling really bad about that. And you have to be really, really cautious about what you're spending your time looking at and participating in on your phone. And it's really hard. It can be really difficult, but there are solutions. And I think when you start noticing the amount of screen time that you're spending, then you can decide what is best for you. If you want to be, spending 2 hours on the couch just scrolling Instagram or reading a book on a Kindle, like on your phone, and you're okay with that screen time, great. If you are planning for that, go ahead and do that. I'm not saying you can't do that. And I definitely take time to be on my phone as well, for sure. But the problem is when we are wanting to be off of our phones and we're not wanting to be on and we're wanting to reduce the screen time, but we keep getting pulled back and sucked back in. And we feel like there might be a little bit of a problem here because we can't stay off of it, or we find ourselves scrolling when we had no intention to be scrolling. We find ourselves like just grabbing your phone. Do you ever like stand there or you are not even necessarily doing something that has anything to do with your phone, but it has to be next to you or it has to be in your pocket or you have to be like holding on to it just as like the security blanket where it can't go so far away. Like, when was the last time that you left your phone in a different room and totally forgot about it? It does not happen very often with most of us. If that's you, that is amazing, and I actually have been trying to leave my phone in a different room, which has been super helpful because I'm trying not to have it just glued to my hip. I'm pretty good about it when we're with family and friends, and I usually either leave it in my purse or it's somewhere on a counter somewhere else where it's not necessarily right next to me because I want them to know that I'm present and I don't want to just be scrolling on my phone because that sends the wrong message too. Like, when you're spending time with people that you care about, whether it is other people or yourself, you deserve to be able to put your phone away and just focus on the time that you're spending. And that is what we're challenged with. So, going through and even once you organize your phone and if you're still getting pulled to it, um recognizing it is the first step, I think. And I actually realized when I was doing a lot of journaling, well, time goes so fast. So it was more than several months ago. But when I was journaling, I was writing all these different things down on how I wanted to be spending my time and what my ideal day would look like. And I was getting so overwhelmed. I didn't have enough time to do everything. And I realized that my screen time was super high, like really high. And it wasn't necessarily all just scrolling, it was all the little things that add up. It was scrolling on Instagram, it was opening TikTok, it was checking my bank account, it was opening up our budget, it was listening to podcasts, it was searching the internet for recipes or just random things that pop in your head that you're like, "Oh, I wonder about this." And you just, search random facts. It's very strange, but I have a tendency to do that. Opening your email, like all these little things add up to a big chunk of time. And if we're not careful, we can spend hours upon hours on our phones throughout the day. And it a lot of times doesn't even feel like we're on our phones that much. If you ask most people how much they're on their phones, they're probably like, "Oh, not that much." Like, we don't even notice it a lot. And so when you are looking at your actual screen time and paying attention to it, you become very aware of how often you are picking up your phone. And so you really want to kind of look at the data first because you want to look at that screen time. If you have not done this yet, go to your settings or Google, because we're Googling, Google how to look up the screen time on your device and see where your screen time is at. And a lot of times you can look up the previous history or like your recent history to see, what you're kind of averaging day to day and see if it is what you thought it would be. And don't judge yourself or be hard on yourself or anything like that. We're just pulling the data. So pull that, see what you're actually spending on your phone and how you feel about that number. And then you want to also look at your emotions that are tied to that. So you also want to look at what you are spending your time on. A lot of times when you pull these screen time reports, it will tell you where you're spending that time. Is it on social media apps? Is it on a browser? Is it in, like a reading app? Is it on a podcast app or your banking app? Like all these different apps pop up and it will tell you how much time is spent on each app for most phones anyway. So you can usually get a pretty good breakdown of where your time is being spent and then you can ask yourself, is this helping you? Like, are you wanting to be spending time on your phone that much? Or is it hurting you? Like, are you wanting to reduce that time and kind of be really realistic on your goals? Because if you are spending, you know, 6 hours just doing different types of social media, cutting it cold turkey is going to be hard. It's doable, and I actually do recommend doing that in some instances. But if you are going to be cutting it out completely, you're going to need to have a plan in place because otherwise you are going to find that you are just on it and like binging content again because you've missed it. So you want to make sure that as you do this, you're just being constantly aware of where you're spending your time on your phone so that you can make the little tweaks that will eventually help you to continue reducing that time. So, some of the tips that I pulled together when Isabella asked this question was I wrote down 8 things that I could just kind of think of off of the top of my head. And again, I just want to say I am not perfect at these, but they do help me a ton in being able to reduce my own screen time. So I came up with 8 tips to help you reduce your screen time. And number one was, first of all, to organize your phone. Isabella had mentioned this in her question. And if you have not done this yet, you can go back to episode 27. I'm assuming that is the one that she's actually responding to here because I think that's the only one I've had where I've actually broken down how I organized my phone. And this was last year. I believe it was December that this episode was posted in 2023. And I still have my phone in the exact same layout as it was before. And I love it. Like, this is what has been working really well for me. And I'm planning to keep it this way because it is working so well. So episode number 27 will help walk you through how to get your phone organized so that you don't have all of those distractions right away. And then tip number 2 is to delete your apps. And this one can feel really hard. And I had heard this from a couple other podcasts actually, to just delete your apps. And it was, I think some recommend deleting, especially like social media apps. They recommend deleting them over the weekend. You could also delete them through the week or whatever it is. I started with just trying to do it on the weekend, and then it wasn't really working too well. Like, I found that I was still on it too much during the week. So then I deleted them during the week, and I would just re-download them, and then I'd kind of forget about them. And so it has been a work in progress, but I continue to keep deleting them because when I delete them, I feel so much clearer. Like, my brain just feels clearer. I still find that like habit of grabbing my phone and looking for that, or like looking for something to do, and I find that I'm like, what am I looking for? And then I realize like, oh, I was probably looking to click on something and start scrolling without paying attention because I was just bored or I was distracted or whatever it was. So by deleting the apps, I never actually fall into the pitfall of scrolling unless I have forgotten to delete them. And then as soon as I catch it, where it's like, oh, shoot, I just caught myself just mindlessly scrolling. My husband calls it doom scrolling. And when I find myself doing that, I just immediately go and I delete the apps because I need to get them off my phone again. Because I can still download them whenever I need to look up something, or if my husband, we a lot of times will send recipes through like Messenger or through our Instagram messages because he's scrolling and finds a recipe that he wants to share with me, or we've been trying to do a lot more healthier things in our home and with food, and we've got some health issues going on. So that has all been a process, and so we're always sending messages. So I do have to download it and just make sure that he hasn't sent me anything since the last time I checked. And a lot of times I will end up forgetting to download it again because I get distracted with something and it stays on my phone until I realize that I am just mindlessly scrolling all of a sudden and wasting time, and then I have to delete it again. So that was a long tangent, but it really, really, truly helps when you just bite the bullet and delete the apps. And this might not be social media apps for you. Maybe it's something else, but a lot of times our phones will even save our usernames and passwords, or you can do your Face ID or whatever, where when you re-download it, all you have to do is just open it and log in, like it has saved it for a lot of them, and you can just download it again and log in super easy. It does not take long, but it does make you kind of think about the decision before you go and decide to download it. Because if you are wanting to go spend some time on, Instagram, then go ahead and do that. As long as you are intending to do that, then you can just go download it, log in, and you're good to go. But it's an intentional thing, not just a mindless thing where you're picking it up and all of a sudden you've wasted 30 minutes doing absolutely nothing that you intended to do. So that can get us really caught. And when you do that, you also want to, just like a kind of a side note, you want to make sure that you are kind of paying attention to how much time you want to spend on there before you actually open it. And this again will not be perfect, but when you are aware of trying to do this, you'll get better at it like as time goes on. And one of the things that I really like to do is to open social media. Like I have to check messages in our Facebook community and just my personal stuff on Facebook. And I very rarely open Instagram now, but um Facebook is the one that I kind of go to because I don't get as pulled in Facebook. It's a lot easier to stay off. So I will just do it on the computer because I have a tendency not to get like pulled in when I'm on the computer. And if I were to be kind of just scrolling, what I would want to do is set a timer. And you don't have to do it on your phone. You can actually set a timer. You can just Google timer and a little timer pops up. You can put how much time you want to be on there. So do that and then open social media on the computer. And when that timer goes off, just close everything out and you're done. Like close your laptop and walk away. And maybe that will help keep the screen time reduced while still getting the need for social media or whatever you're looking at if that is the case. Tip number 3, that was a long tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to create a background image for your home screen or your lock screen with a reminder. This one is just a really subtle thing, but I have found that it is very helpful. Uh, if you have been listening to the podcast, you have found me probably saying intentional a lot. And the reason that is because that is what is in my brain right now, because that has been my word of the year. And this is the first year I've done a word of the year, and it has been extremely helpful. And I will I should probably do a future podcast episode on it if you guys want me to, but the word of the year I had selected was intentional because I wanted to be really intentional with different areas of my life, with my business, with my time, and all of this stuff. So what I ended up doing was finding a photo that was a good background image for my phone. I have a green case, so I found a like green scenery photo, and it was like a background image that had a good spot to put like a small word, and I just put intentional. So you could do a word, you could do a phrase, you could like do some big, banner reminder that says, do you want to be on your phone? You can do it whatever you want to do. But having some sort of reminder on either your background image or your lock screen can help kind of trigger that reminder for you. And when you find that, you're kind of just overlooking it and not actually paying attention to the image anymore, switch it up and change the image so it actually catches your attention again and see if that helps you. Like that might just help you. And it's kind of fun if you like being creative that way. Number 4 is to schedule phone time or schedule no phone time. So this can go a couple of different ways. If you feel like you are wanting time and are able to just schedule an amount of time to be on your phone, that is an option for you. So let's say you have an hour in, the morning, and you want to be on your phone for an hour in the evening when you're getting home and you're kind of relaxing, and you plan to be on your phone for an hour in the evenings. You could schedule it where you're okay to be on your phones at those you're on your phone at those times. That is 2 full hours of being on your phone. If that is sufficient for you, then great. Like that is when you check your messages and respond to things and you get any scrolling time in, all those things. You could do that. You could also, if you feel like you are really addicted to your phone and it's really hard to stay off of it all throughout the day, and like only be on for those certain chunks of time, you might want to try the reverse, which is scheduling the no screen time, almost kind of um like a break time, I guess is what you could call it, where you are always with your phone what you could do is actually set a schedule of when you don't want to be on your phone, when you don't want to be near your phone, and you're just going to close everything out and be away from it. And you can do this once a day. You can do it twice a day. You can do it several times throughout the day. Maybe it's 10 minutes every hour. Maybe it's, 1 hour for every, 4 hour blocks of time throughout your day. You can do whatever you want. But what you could do is schedule the time and then, like, literally set a timer, even if it's on your phone, it doesn't matter. Set a timer, turn off all of your notifications so that you're not called to it when, something dings, but turn it off and then set it in a room or set it on a shelf or in a dark corner, throw it in a drawer, it doesn't matter, but put it away where you don't touch it for that time frame until you hear the timer going off. And then find something else to do with your time until you hear that timer going off, because especially if you kind of keep your phone by you as that, like, security blanket, even though you're not aware of it, being on it or checking it or opening it up without realizing it, just keeping it near you is sometimes the addiction. And if you put it down, sometimes it can be really challenging to not know where your phone is or feel like you don't know where it is. And you're like patting your pockets or you're looking for your phone and it's just not near you. So the more you do this throughout the day, the more you will realize, like, you start to kind of let go of that security blanket and always needing it by you, which will also help the pull to the screen time. So hopefully that one will help you. I think that one is super helpful for me. The fifth one tip that I have for you is to turn off your notifications. And my husband might tell you otherwise because this drives him nuts because I don't respond to him right away. If he's gone, he'll come home and he'll be like, why didn't you look at your text, or why didn't you text me back, or why didn't you answer the call? And I was like, shoot, I'm sorry. I really need to turn his on where it just bypasses everything. And you can do that. So if you're concerned about, missing calls from certain people or like important things. If you have kids in school and you need to, have the school be able to go through whatever your life situation is, you can do it where people will bypass the silence that you have set on your phone. But if you are really kind of serious about turning off your phone, and social media is one of those things that pull you in, turning off your notifications prevents all those buzzes and dings and pings when you get something on social media. And I would not only just do the, like, actual audible notifications and turn those off, but I would also turn them off on my little bubbles. So when you are going through episode 27 to organize your phone, I do talk about this actually. But when you have those little badges on your apps, now if you delete the apps, you don't have to worry about it. But if you have those little badges on your apps where it says you have, 5 notifications, 10 notifications, 15 notifications, 20 unread emails, whatever it is, I turned all of those off. And you can do it. If you don't know how to do it, you can Google it to to start to figure out how to do it. But there are ways to turn all those off. So when I open my phone, it's just my phone. I don't have a bunch of notifications and badges like lighting up to show me all these different things I've been missing out on. When it's time for me to open them, that is when I will open them. So I try to be very intentional about when I'm checking email, when I'm going in and I'm going to download the Facebook and check some messages, when I am going to all of these things that I would get notifications on. And when I pick up my phone and I'm going to go like check all of those things, I will kind of cycle through and click on the apps that I find are the most important, and I check all of those, and then I get off my phone and it's done. And when I don't have all of those notifications, because it's interesting because when you are thinking of the notifications and the pings and everything, there have been studies done, and I'm not a scientist and I have not done this research, so I might relay it differently than I had heard it. So I apologize if some of this is incorrect, but I thought it was super interesting because the um notifications that you get or you receive actually send like a signal to your brain, and you have like a little hit of dopamine, which is like the feel good hormone. And when you are getting all of these notifications, it actually sends that little signal. So it's like a constant, like little hit of dopamine. And that is why we become so addicted, because it's almost like you're getting a little high every time. And I've never done drugs, so I don't know why that's the case. But I apparently I have an addictive personality, maybe. But what it is like it's constantly giving you that little signal of this little dopamine hit, and so you tend to crave more. And if you have studied this and like you want to tell me about it, please do. Like, send me an email. It's in the show notes. But you can do that, and it just kind of gives you a better understanding of why we tend to continuously go to social media, because we're searching for that little feel good boost. And especially when we're bored, we want something to raise our spirits, so we end up just constantly going back for more. So turning off your notifications definitely helps when you are trying to reduce your screen time, because you aren't hearing those little dings and pings and vibrations on your phone when you get any notifications. You can just turn them off, and when you're ready, just open your phone at that time. And then tip number 6 is to, like I said before, but this is an actual tip, is to leave your phone in a different room. Put it in a drawer, put it in a closet, stuff it under the bed if you need to, but put it in a different room and leave that space, and try to just separate yourself from your phone as much as you can. That will also help, because you can't pick up your phone and get on the screen when it's not next to you, or you can't do it as easily. You have to actually go search it out. Now, tip number 7 is to actually have a plan to how to spend your time, or on how to spend your time when you are looking to scroll. Um, or just be on your phone, whatever you're doing. If you are constantly picking up your phone because you're bored, then when you go to pick up your phone and all of your apps have been deleted, if you're anything like me, you're going to start clicking on just random stuff that has absolutely no need to be clicked on. I found that I was clicking on my settings just to see what was in there. Like, it was so dumb. But what happens is, if you have a plan on how you should spend your time when you catch yourself, that is what's going to help you to stay off of it. So if you are kind of getting pulled to your phone, and all of a sudden you realize, like, I'm on my phone and I don't need to be, I don't want to be, I'm just being pulled in right now, close it out, put it down, put it in a different room, and then have a backup plan. Like, are you going to read a couple pages in a book? Are you going to just double check your, day stack and see if you are on task with everything? Do you have a task or something that needs to be done for work? Or do you have some project that you've been working on? Do you have a hobby that you can go do? Do you have the ability to go, take a quick walk around the block? Whatever you are going to do, maybe it is just going and every time you like see that you're getting pulled into your phone, maybe it's going to make sure your dishes are cleaned up and you can stay caught up on dishes throughout the day. Or is that load of laundry, switched around? Are there different things that can be your default, that when you find yourself on your phone, like, you can turn it off and be like, this is what I'm going to do instead, and have a plan in place so that you don't feel like you just need to keep scrolling, or you need to find something else to do and you get really bored and frustrated. Like, having a plan, no matter what it is, maybe you have a few different options in your mind. Do that and see if that helps you too. And tip number 8 is to just not be hard on yourself and to just keep trying, because it's definitely a work in progress. And as things get even more technologically advanced, we are going to get pulled in more, and it's going to be up to us to really make those changes, but it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to happen over time. And just recognizing that and being able to make those tiny little changes as we go is better than not making any changes at all. Even if it takes a while, every little tiny bit helps. And just know that, and know that you're doing a good job of just even challenging yourself to try to reduce your screen time will make you more aware of how much time you're spending on your phone. And over time, it will get better. So just be okay with that and pat yourself on the back because you are still doing a good job of trying to make those little changes. So, a really quick recap of those 8 tips was number 1, to organize your phone. And you can go to episode 27 if you need to do that yet. Number 2, delete your apps and just re download them when you need them. 3 is to create a background image for your home screen or your lock screen that has something that will remind you of your intentions. Number 4 is to schedule your phone time or to schedule no phone time. Tip number 5 is to turn off your notifications and those little badges. Tip number 6 is to leave your phone in a different room. Tip number 7 is to have a plan on how you will spend your time when you find yourself being pulled to your phone. And tip number 8 is to not be too hard on yourself and to just keep trying. So I hope those were helpful for you and that you can take at least one of them and just start making those little changes, and that it starts getting better for you, and that you can find that your screen time starts to be reduced and you can feel really good about that. And if you have a question like Isabella did, you can actually send it to us as well. And you can either do it by email, our email is in the show notes, or you can actually leave us an audio where you can ask the question with your own voice. And you can do this for a review as well. But if you have a question, this is a great time to do that. And you just go to speakpipe.com/, the Routine Advantage podcast. And that link is also in the show notes if you need to take a look at it. But I hope this was helpful for you, and I will see you on the next episode. Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.